years before COVID-19, Malta has registered unprecedented GDP growth, with an expansion in employment levels, construction activity, exportation and tourism. This, however, came at a cost to society due to pressures on its infrastructure, the labour market and the people's physical and mental health. In spite of its terrible effects on people's livelihoods and businesses, COVID-19 gave us an opportunity to conduct a reality check and to use this time to think and plan our future. At this juncture, the Malta Employers Association believes it is the opportune time to ask whether it would be wise to go back to what we had, or whether Malta should take up the challenge to balance sustainable economic growth with quality of life. To start with, we ask, should the country continue to pursue GDP growth as the exclusive measure of success and as its prime key performance indicator? Indeed, GDP is a universal measure of economic prosperity and is used to compare and rank countries according to their economic performance. But while GDP continues to serve as the closest measure of prosperity, macroeconomic theory acknowledges that this metric has its limitations when used to gauge well-being and quality of life. So whilst the reading from the GDP gauge may lead us to believe our economic situation to be exceptionally positive, such an assessment may not be all that reliable, because the GDP may not be the most appropriate instrument to gauge the country's socio-economic development, given that this by definition is a quantitative measure rather than a qualitative one, and so it may give correct readings for prosperity, but less precise ones for quality of life. Over the years, in fact, the link between GDP and the quality of life has become much less clear, especially as economic growth was largely explained by a rapid increase in the population count and density, while the island's geographic limitations remained constant. The economic activity has been partially fueled through activities which may not be sustainable in the long term. For example, the rate of construction activity on the natural environment can have an impact on general well-being, as well as threaten the sustainability of other sectors, like tourism. Indeed, GDP taken in isolation fails to measure the sociological and psychological effects of work and work-related stress on the country at both the macro and micro levels, because by design, it only measures quantifiable units of output, income, or expenditure in terms of currency. Today, with the participation of our distinguished lineup of speakers and our audience, we shall consider the limitations of GDP as a metric for gauging prosperity and quality of life. We shall identify the challenges ahead with a view to making recommendations of how GDP growth can be managed to portray a more holistic snapshot of a nation's well-being. We will discuss how the effects of negative externalities can be minimized and how productivity and economic growth can be harnessed and prioritized towards the well-being of our society. We shall look into how this change in culture can also offer opportunities for businesses and economic growth. The MEA will follow up this event with a comprehensive report that will in turn be presented and discussed with the authorities. The position paper will be based on today's proceedings, so we look forward to the active participation of our distinguished audience throughout the conference and the workshops. We will make your opinion count.